Okay, welcome to lesson 62. It's a slightly complicated lesson, but we'll just take it one step at a time. So let's go ahead and first learn this little equation. A fraction of, remember that the multiplication sign means of, fraction of number A, or a first number, will be equal to number B. Let me give an example. Let's look at example 62.1. Here we have 5/8 of the gnomes who lived in the magical forest had happy faces. If 840 gnomes had happy faces, how many gnomes lived in the magic forest? So we don't know how many gnomes lived in the magical forest. We don't know the total number of gnomes. What we do know is part of that number, right? We know that 5/8, so there's a fraction, 5/8 of this unknown total is equal to 840. So do you see how I converted the knowledge that I knew into an actual algebra equation using this FAB formula? If you don't know the total, but you do know a fraction and the total of that fraction, then you can use that information to actually solve for the whole number. So to do that, we want to get A by itself. Let's divide this side by 5/8, which will mean multiplying it by 8/5. The reciprocal, that will cancel. Let's also multiply the right side by 8/5. And then we can simplify that. Let's see, 840 divided by 5 is 168. I think 168. Hopefully that's true. And then A would be 168 times 8, which is 1,344, I believe. So now we know the total number of gnomes, which is what the question was asking. How many gnomes lived total in the magical forest? Well, there were 1,344 gnomes, and 5/8 were happy. In other words, 840 were happy. And then we know through logic that if 5/8 were happy, then 3/8 were something else. Maybe they were sad or mad or something. And that number would be equal to whatever 1,344 minus 840 equals. So I can do a quick problem here. So 504 were something else, and 840 were happy. Let's go ahead and do one more problem since this is kind of complicated. I'll start off by writing my formula. This is actually a very good way to start solving a problem, is to copy down the formula first before you begin plugging in your own information. Let's look at example 62.2. On Monday, 2 4/5 times the acceptable number of rock badgers took refuge in the mountain caves. If 640 was the acceptable number, how many rock badgers took refuge in the mountain caves on Monday? So this time we do know the acceptable, the normal amount of rock badgers, but in this example there were 2 4/5 times, almost 3 times more of the normal number, and our goal is to find out this new number. So let's go ahead and plug in some numbers. We have 2 4/5. Let's change that to an improper fraction. It'll be 14/5. And then what was the acceptable number of rock badgers? Well, that was 640. So almost 3 times this normal amount of rock badgers is equal to how many rock badgers? 14 times 640 divided by 5 would equal 792 equals B. So you just have to listen very carefully. Sometimes you are simply needing to multiply because there are more than the usual number of rock badgers or whatever you're counting. And sometimes you are given part of a whole or part of a usual number, and then you need to solve for that usual number. But in either case, this little formula here, F times A equals B, will be helpful to you. When all else fails, if you can manage to take the information you know and to convert that into some sort of concise sentence, So, for example, jumping back to our gnome example, we knew that 5/8 of the gnomes were equal to 840. So let's say that one more time. 5/8 of the gnomes, I'll put a G this time, is equal to 840. So if you can say it in a quick sentence like that, and see how easily I converted that to actual algebra, and then it's just a matter of simplifying that. So that can be your backup plan. If you can't quite figure out which number goes where and what do I need to multiply, just try to say it in a short, concise sentence, and then see if you can convert that to algebra. All right, I hope this was a helpful lesson, and do let me know if you have any questions.